One thing I've learned in beekeeping is it can cause as big a problem to move too fast on something as it would be to move too slow on something. But it was time to get into number one hive and do something. When I first noticed this issue, I also noticed the bees had been cleaning cells out and collecting pollen and putting pollen stores in, even though there was no brood. But there was a queen. Some had suggested, we should move some brood and eggs over, but at the time there was no eggs or brood to move over. We came back about a week later, and there was brood in other hives we could have moved over, but it wasn't time yet. You don't have any drones in the air, so even if they raised another queen and you killed the queen that was in there, well, the new queen would not get mated. Now things have progressed far enough that we possibly could introduce some brood in here if there was a problem. And, well, we knew there was a problem just generally in the size. Even if the queen kicks in and starts laying at this point, there aren't enough bees to keep things warm. The first step would be to do a quick reassessment, which is what I'm doing here. We want to see if things changed since the last time we looked in. Were there any eggs? Well, no. Was there still a queen? Well, yes. Were there still bees in there, and were they still alive? Yes. Had they eaten much of the pollen potty? No. A little bit here and there. Were they still collecting pollen stores? Yes. So this was a viable hive. It was just too small to survive on its own the way it was.
They're quiet and they seem to be anticipating something. And we still have a queen. There she is right there.
Even a fertile queen won't necessarily lay more eggs than she thinks that she has bees to cover the brood on. And, well,
I don't see any sign of eggs.
The other issue was temperature. We are in March after all, so she may just not have started laying yet.
I'm going to see if I can't get a frame of brood from another hive. At least has something on it. See if I can replace this with a frame that might be of use to them. So we're bringing over a frame of brood and young larvae. Since we have a queen in here, I'm not ready to introduce a queen.
Capped brood does not put the food load on the hive that eggs and larvae would. If they're in the cell and the cell is capped, then they're not going to be eating anything until they hatch.
So this is number 6, our donor hive. Just going to take a little bit of a look around here, but I think we're in pretty good shape on this hive. There's some solid frames of brood. And we still have plenty of frames of brood, so these girls are building up nicely. And as long as I didn't accidentally drag the queen over and throw her in that other hive, we'll bundle number 1 up, and hopefully they have enough population in there to actually keep things going. still don't have any official study on whether peppermints do anything. But there's an awful lot of collateral evidence that they seem directly related to a decrease in hive beetle population. So, you know, there's no money in it for anybody to say, hey, use peppermints. I'd rather use nice, you know, drugs and traps and things like that, but I don't know.
I tried putting peppermints on last year and really didn't have much of a hive beetle problem all season. So, you know, what the heck? They're fairly cheap, they're non-toxic to the bees, so why not put peppermints in the hive?
Everybody's going to get some peppermints today.
As a footnote, I did peek in on number 1 the next day, and 24 hours later the bees had all moved on to that frame of brood, so they were keeping it warm, which is a good thing because we have a little bit of a cool spell coming up. Still have my fingers crossed.
We're going to keep this one pretty sealed up, and hopefully there's enough bees in there to keep the brood somewhat warm. Otherwise we're going to chill brood and lose what we put in there. So with the exception of hive number 1, we have all the mouse screens off. For the hives, I flipped the reducers to the larger size. They were just choking up with bees. Things are looking good except for number 1. Of course, we put a frame of brood in there. It was older brood, and the reason I chose older brood in this case is they need a workforce. There's a queen in there. I'm not entirely sure she's unfertile yet. She could very well be. So we'll go back again in a couple of weeks, and if I still don't see any new eggs, you know, hopefully we have a bit of hatched workforce out there to keep things going. Then it's time to put some eggs in there, or discontinue the hive, or pull a queen cell when they start forming from another hive and stick it in there. But number 1's hanging in there, and we'll give it every possible chance. The other ones, whoo! It's a very early spring apparently, and they're ready for it. So I don't know what swarm season's going to be like, but it's looking like it's going to be a busy one. Till next time, from Buzz Park, goodbye.